Everyone unwrapped lavish gifts, but I got nothing. Mom shrugged. "We forgot you, Lauren." They expected me to crumble. I smiled. "No worries, I brought my own." The room froze when I revealed it. The rain was relentless, a Seattle downpour that turned the world into a smear of neon and asphalt. My hands gripped the steering wheel of the rental car, knuckles white, as I navigated the twisting roads of Capitol Hill. The city's pulse thrummed through the windshield, a chaotic symphony of headlights and horns. I was Lauren Carter, 36, cybersecurity consultant, and I was supposed to be dead right now. 30 minutes ago, my brakes had failed on a steep incline, sending my car careening toward a guardrail overlooking a 200-foot drop into Puget Sound. I'd yanked the emergency brake just in time, the screech of tires still echoing in my ears. Someone had cut the lines. I'd checked the dripping fluid under the chassis myself. This wasn't an accident. Someone wanted me gone, and I had a sinking feeling it was tied to the secrets I'd been keeping from my family for 5 years. I was back in Seattle for Christmas, my first trip home in half a decade. The city had changed since I'd left Oregon behind, its skyline sharper, its tech scene buzzing with ambition, but the weight of my childhood home, now relocated to a sleek suburban estate in Seattle's Queen Anne neighborhood, felt heavier than ever. My stomach churned as I turned onto my parents' street, the same knot of dread I'd felt as a kid, always the overlooked middle child between my golden boy brother Ethan and my dazzling sister Mia. They didn't know about Nexus Shield, my cybersecurity firm valued at $100 million, $0, or the Pentagon contracts I'd secured. To them, I was still Lauren, the computer nerd with no real direction. But this time, I wasn't coming empty-handed. I had an empire to reveal, if I could survive long enough to show it. The streetlights flickered as I pulled into the driveway, the colonial Saul house looming like a monument to my family's expectations. Its Christmas lights, meticulously arranged in the same pattern my father had used for 20 years, glowed through the rain. I killed the engine, my breath catching as a shadow moved in the side yard. Before I could react, a crack split the air, a gunshot. Glass exploded from my driver's side window, shards grazing my cheek. I ducked, heart hammering, as another shot pinged off the hood. A masked figure stood in the darkness, their silhouette barely visible through the storm. I floored the gas, swerving the car into the lawn to avoid a third shot, then slammed it into park and dove behind the dashboard. My phone was in my hand, 911 halfway dialed, when the figure vanished into the neighbor's hedge. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have heard the shots. I touched my cheek, blood slick on my fingers. "Welcome home, Lauren." The front door swung open before I could compose myself. My mother, Helen, stood there in a cashmere sweater, her sharp eyes scanning me like a security camera. "Lauren, what on earth? Did you hit something?" Her voice was a mix of concern and irritation, as if I'd crashed my car to inconvenience her. My father, Richard, appeared behind her, his corporate tech exec demeanor as stiff as his pressed shirt. "You okay, kid? That sounded like gunfire." His tone suggested he didn't quite believe it. I climbed out, legs shaky, brushing glass from my hair. "Someone shot at me," I said, voice steadier than I felt. "Second attempt on my life tonight." Their faces froze, a mix of shock and skepticism. Helen's lips pursed. "Are you sure? This is Queen Anne, not some war zone." Richard chuckled, the sound grating. "Probably just kids with firecrackers. You've been in Seattle too long, jumping at shadows." I wanted to scream that my brake lines were cut, that bullets had just torn through my car, but I bit it back. They'd never believe me. Not yet. Inside, the house smelled of pine and cinnamon, a staged holiday perfection that clashed with the chaos outside. My brother Ethan's kids, Lily, 7, and Max, 5, peered at me from the living room, their eyes wide but wary, like I was a stranger intruding on their Christmas. Ethan, a neurosurgeon with a jawline sharp enough to cut glass, was sprawled on the couch, his wife Sarah beside him. Mia, my younger sister, breezed in, her influencer glow practically lighting the room. She was engaged to some tech mogul named Liam, and her diamond ring caught the chandelier's light like a spotlight. "Lauren," Mia squealed, air-kissing my cheek. "You look intense. City life, huh?" Her smile was bright but fleeting, already scanning the room for a better audience. Ethan barely looked up from his phone. "Hey sis, survived the drive?" His smirk suggested he knew nothing about the crash, or the shooting. I forced a smile, my pulse still racing from the driveway. Barely. They didn't catch the edge in my voice. Why would they? To them, I was still the awkward middle kid who'd never measured up. Growing up, our family was a pressure cooker of achievement. Dad ran a tech firm that supplied software to half the Northwest. Mom was a university dean who treated every dinner like a board meeting. Ethan was their pride, acing med school and building hospital wings. Mia was their darling, her Instagram following bigger than some small towns. Me? I was the glitch in their system, the kid who'd rather code than charm. At 16, I'd built my first encryption program, a clunky but functional thing that could lock a file tighter than Fort Knox. I showed it to Dad, eyes bright with hope. He glanced at it for 3 seconds before saying, "Neat hobby, Lauren, but law school's where the real money is." Mom was worse. "Why not join Mia's theater group? You spend too much time alone with those machines." Machines were my refuge, my language, but to them they were a phase I'd never outgrow. High school was a blur of coding competitions I won and family dinners where my victories went unmentioned. The breaking point came senior year when I got into MIT with a partial scholarship for cybersecurity. I was over the moon. MIT was my dream. At dinner, Dad spent 30 minutes dissecting Ethan's med school options before turning to me. "MIT's pricey, Lauren. Oregon State has decent computer classes. No need to bankrupt us." His words gutted me. My dreams weren't worth their investment. I went to MIT anyway, scraping by on loans and night shifts at a campus coffee shop. Those years gave me distance, perspective, and a fire I didn't know I had. After graduation, I moved to Seattle, the tech capital where I could disappear into my work. I told my parents I was doing freelance coding. They didn't ask for details, and I stopped offering. Our contact dwindled to holiday texts, and the occasional birthday card I sent, answered with curt thank yous. What they didn't know, what no one in this perfect judgmental house knew, was that I'd co-founded Nexus Shield. It started in a cramped Belltown apartment with 2 laptops and a crazy idea: unbreakable cybersecurity for critical systems. 3 years in, we landed contracts with hospitals, banks, and yes, the Pentagon. By year 5, Nexus Shield was valued at $100 million, 0 cents, with buyout offers rolling in like waves. My hobby had built an empire, and I'd done it without their validation. I hadn't told them, partly because they never asked, but also because I wanted to be seen for me, not my bank account. But Grandma Nora, the only one who'd ever cared about my passion, called me last month. "Life's too short for grudges, Lori," she'd said, her voice warm with my childhood nickname. "Come home for Christmas." How could I say no to her? Now, standing in their living room, I felt like an alien in a museum of my past. The Christmas tree sparkled, ornaments unchanged since I was a kid. Ethan's kids were glued to their iPads, ignoring me. Mia was showing Sarah her engagement photos, her voice a melody of self-adoration. My parents were already steering the conversation to Ethan's latest hospital project. "That's nice, dear," Helen said, cutting me off. "Mia, tell us about your wedding venue. The vineyard sounds divine." My words dissolved into the air, unnoticed. I passed the salt as requested, my jaw tight. same old story. Lauren's voice didn't matter. Lunch was a masterclass in exclusion. The oak table, a relic of my childhood, was set for 6. I pointed out the missing place setting. Helen blinked, laughing it off. "Oh, force of habit. It's been so long since you were home, I forgot to count you." She grabbed a plate from the cabinet, acting like it was no big deal. But it was. It always was. Dinner brought more of the same. Mom served Ethan's favorite steak, Mia's vegan quinoa salad, even Sarah's gluten-free roll. Then came a mushroom risotto mushrooms, which I'm deathly allergic to. I'd told them 100 times growing up. "Still picky, Lauren?" Helen sighed, pushing a bread basket toward me. "There's plenty if you're hungry." I stared at the bread, my throat tight. They didn't forget Mia's veganism or Sarah's diet, just me. After lunch, Dad announced the women would clean up while the men relaxed. His 1950s logic made my blood boil, but I swallowed my protest. In the kitchen, I tried talking to Mia about Nexus Shield. "So, you're still doing that tech stuff?" she asked, half listening as she scrubbed a pan. Before I could answer, Helen interrupted. "Lauren, you're rinsing those plates wrong. You'll clog the disposal. Always so careless." Her words stung, a reminder of every time I'd been dismissed as less than. I excused myself to unpack, climbing the stairs to my old bedroom, except it wasn't mine anymore. The door opened to a home gym, complete with a treadmill and weights. My posters, my books, my life, gone. Ethan's room was a shrine to his high school glory, trophies gleaming. Mia's was a chic guest suite with her old art on the walls. Mine? A dumping ground for their fitness phase. In the attic, I found a box labeled Lauren's Junk. Inside were my cybersecurity awards, my MIT acceptance letter, a cracked trophy from a national hackathon. Some were moldy, others broken from careless storage. I sat on the floor, the weight of it all crashing down. They'd erased me, packed me away like clutter. I called Sam, my Nexus Shield co-founder and the closest thing I had to family. "They haven't changed," I said, voice breaking. "I'm still invisible." Sam's voice was steady. "Tell them about Nexus Shield, Lauren. Show them who you are. They'll have to see you then." I shook my head, though he couldn't see. "I don't want their awe. I want their love." He sighed. "You're there for Nora, not them. Remember that. You don't need their approval. You're a damn legend." I hung up, staring at the attic's cobwebs. Sam was right, but the girl inside me, the one who'd spent years chasing their validation, wasn't ready to let go. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve, when the extended family would descend, and the gift exchange would lay bare my place in their hierarchy. I wasn't sure I could face it, but as I climbed into the guest bed, surrounded by gym equipment, I made a choice. I'd stay for Nora. I'd let this play out, and if someone was trying to kill me, I'd damn well find out who before they got another shot. Christmas Eve arrived with a storm that rattled the windows. Uncle Greg, Aunt Linda, and their kids poured in, followed by cousins Jake and Zoe. Nora was last, her 80-year-old frame wrapped in a wool coat, her smile like a lighthouse in the chaos. "There's my Lori," she said, hugging me tight. "You're glowing, sweetheart." For the first time since I'd arrived, I felt seen. Nora had always been different, curious, kind, the one who'd mailed me coding books at MIT when my parents sent nothing. The living room buzzed with chatter, but every attempt I made to join in was drowned out. Jake, my 28-year-old cousin, still finding himself at his dad's car dealership, laughed when I mentioned cybersecurity. "Still playing hacker, huh? Must be nice. No real responsibilities." I forced a smile, my fingers itching to pull up the Pentagon contract on my phone. Aunt Linda cornered me by the fireplace, her voice dripping with pity. "No ring yet, Lauren? At 36, you're running out of time. My Megan's pregnant with her third and she's only 31. Before I could respond, Helen chimed in. Lauren's always been career-focused. Some women just aren't cut out for family life. The word career came out like a dirty word, and I clenched my fists. I'm building something meaningful, I said, keeping my voice even. And I date. Just haven't found the right person, Linda smirked. Well, you can't be picky forever. I was saved by a crash from the dining room. A drone, had smashed through the window, its blades whirring as it skidded across the table. A red light blinked on its frame, and my gut screamed danger. I tackled Nora to the floor just as it exploded in a cloud of smoke, shrapnel grazing my arm. Screams filled the room as I shielded Nora, my mind racing. This wasn't random. Someone knew I was here. Dad called the cops, dismissing it as a prank gone wrong. Ethan checked his kids, Mia clutched Liam, and Helen fussed over the broken glass. No one asked if I was okay, even with blood dripping down my arm. I bandaged it myself in the bathroom, my reflection hard in the mirror. 3 attacks in 24 hours, breaks, bullets, now this. Nexus Shield had enemies. Cybersecurity wasn't all handshakes and contracts. I'd pissed off hackers, corporations, maybe even governments. But how did they know I'd be here? Or was it closer? Someone in this house? I pushed the thought away, but it lingered like smoke. Dinner was tense, the family pretending the drone was a fluke. Dad's prayer thanked God for Ethan's hospital grants, Mia's engagement, and the blessings of family. Everyone but me. I excused myself mid-meal, my appetite gone. In the bathroom, I splashed water on my face, the confident CEO I'd become, cracking to reveal the kid who'd never been enough. I could leave now, claim a work emergency, escape to see, but Nora's voice echoed in my head. Come home for me. I straightened, resolve hardening. I'd stay. I'd face them. And I'd find out who wanted me dead. The air in my parents' Seattle mansion was thick with the scent of cinnamon and betrayal. I stood in the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face, the mirror reflecting a woman caught between the CEO I'd become and the invisible middle child I'd always been. My arm stung from the shrapnel graze of the drone attack hours ago, a stark reminder that someone, maybe someone in this house, wanted me dead. 3 attempts on my life in 24 hours. Sabotaged brakes, gunshots in the driveway, and now a weaponized drone crashing through the dining room window. My family, oblivious or complicit, had brushed it off as a prank. But I knew better. I'm Lauren Carter, 36, founder of Nexus Shield, a cybersecurity empire worth $100 million, 0 cents, and I was done being erased. Christmas Eve was unraveling, and I was about to light a match under this family's perfect facade. I slipped back into the dining room, where the chaos of the drone attack had been swept away like crumbs. My parents, Richard and Helen, were orchestrating the holiday with their usual precision, as if a near explosion was just a minor inconvenience. My brother Ethan, the neurosurgeon golden boy, was regaling Uncle Greg with tales of his hospital's new wing. Mia, my influencer sister, was snapping selfies with her fiancé Liam, her engagement ring glinting like a trophy. The extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, chattered over wine, their voices a wall of noise that drowned out my existence. Only Grandma Nora's eyes found mine, her warm gaze a lifeline in the storm. She'd always seen me, sent me coding books at MIT when my parents sent nothing but criticism. But even Nora couldn't know the danger I was in or the secret I was about to unleash. I sat at the table, my untouched plate of mushroom risotto mocking me. I'm allergic to mushrooms, a fact my mother had conveniently forgotten, just like she'd forgotten to set a place for me at lunch. The exclusion stung, but it was the prayer that cut deeper. My father's Christmas Eve blessing had thanked God for Ethan's grants, Mia's engagement, even the kids' bright futures. Everyone but me. I was a ghost in my own family, and the weight of it pressed against my chest. But something else was brewing, a clarity born of survival. Someone was trying to kill me, and I had to figure out who before they succeeded. Was it a rival firm threatened by Nexus Shield's Pentagon contracts? A hacker I'd exposed? Or, my stomach twisted, someone closer? Someone who'd benefit from my absence? The doorbell rang, sharp and jarring, pulling me from my thoughts. Helen frowned, glancing at Richard. Who could that be at this hour? I tensed, my hand sliding to my phone, ready to call 911 again. Richard opened the door to a delivery courier, rain-soaked and holding a small package. "Forlorn Carter," the man said, his voice flat. My heart skipped. No one knew I was here except my family and Sam, my Nexus Shield co-founder. I took the package, its weight light but ominous, like a ticking bomb. "Who's it from?" Mia asked, her curiosity breaking through her selfie haze. "No sender," I said, turning the plain brown box over. No label, no address, just my name in sharp black ink. I set it on the sideboard, my instincts screaming to open it alone. But Jake, my smarmy cousin, grabbed it with a grin. "Let's see what Santa sent the tech nerd." Before I could stop him, he tore it open. A USB drive slid onto the table, black and sleek, with a single word etched on it. Nexus. The room went quiet, all eyes on me. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "What's that, some geek toy?" I forced a laugh, snatching the drive before Jake could touch it. Just work stuff. But my pulse was racing. Nexus Shield's proprietary tech was on drives like this, encrypted, untraceable. If someone had sent this, they knew too much. I excused myself, slipping upstairs to the guest room that used to be mine, now a sterile gym with a treadmill mocking my displacement. I locked the door, plugged the drive into my laptop, and ran a security scan. Clean, but the contents were a gut punch, a single video file. I clicked play and my own face stared back, a grainy surveillance clip of me at a Pentagon meeting last month. A voice, distorted and mechanical, hissed through the speakers. "Reveal Nexus Shield and you die." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just a threat, it was proof someone had breached my world, my company, my life. I called Sam, my voice low. "We've got a problem. Someone sent a USB with classified footage. They know I'm here." Sam's voice crackled with urgency. "Lauren, get out of that house. This is bigger than family drama. If they've got Pentagon access, you're not safe." I hesitated. "I can't leave yet. Nora asked me to come, and I need to show them who I am." Sam groaned. "You're stubborn as hell. Fine, but tell them about Nexus Shield. Shock them into respecting you. And watch your back. I'm running a trace on that footage." I hung up, the threat looping in my mind. Reveal and die, or stay silent and fade away. Neither felt like winning. Downstairs, the family had moved to the living room, the Christmas tree glowing like a beacon of false cheer. I rejoined them, the USB drive burning a hole in my pocket. Jake was sprawled on the couch, smirking. "Still playing hacker games, Lauren? Bet you're just coding apps for fun." His tone dripped with condescension, echoing the years of dismissal I'd endured. Aunt Linda chimed in, her voice syrupy with pity. "No husband yet, dear. At 36, you're cutting it close. My Megan's got 2 kids already." I clenched my jaw, the familiar sting of being less than flaring up. "I'm focused on my work," I said, my voice sharper than intended. "It's meaningful." Linda raised an eyebrow. "Meaningful doesn't keep you warm at night." Helen, ever the diplomat, jumped in. "Lauren's always been independent. Not everyone needs a family to feel complete." The word family landed like a slap, her tone implying I'd chosen isolation over connection. I was about to respond when my smartwatch buzzed. A security alert from Nora's new smartwatch, the one I'd fixed earlier. The screen flashed red. Unauthorized access detected. Someone had tried to hack it right here in the house. I glanced at Nora, who was chatting with Mia, oblivious to the danger. "Excuse me," I said, pulling Nora aside. "Your watch. It's been compromised. Let me check it." Her eyes widened, but she handed it over. I connected it to my phone, running a diagnostic. The hack was sophisticated, targeting the health app I'd installed for her heart condition. Someone was trying to access her medical data, or worse, control the device. My fingers flew across the screen, isolating the breach. "Got it," I muttered, neutralizing the attack. Nora squeezed my hand. "You're a marvel, Lori. Always fixing things." Her pride warmed me, but the hack chilled my spine. This was personal, and it was close. Dinner was a farce of holiday cheer. Helen served Ethan's favorite lamb, Mia's vegan tart, even Liam's preferred craft beer. My plate? A slice of bread and a salad I couldn't eat thanks to my allergy. I pushed it around, my mind on the USB thread and the hacked watch. Who in this room knew enough to pull this off? Ethan with his hospital tech connections, Mia's fiancé, the tech mogul? Or was it an outsider watching us? I overheard my parents in the kitchen, their voices low but cutting. "Ethan's new wing is a game changer," Richard said. "Millions in funding." Helen sighed. "Mia's wedding will be the event of the year, but Lauren, she's still drifting. No family, no roots. Where did we go wrong?" The words hit like bullets, worse than the ones fired at my car. I was their failure, their glitch, even after building an empire. Then it happened. Attack number 3. My coffee cup sat on the table, untouched since I'd set it down to help Nora. I took a sip, and my throat burned, a metallic taste spreading fast. I dropped the cup, coughing, my vision blurring. "Lauren!" Nora cried, rushing to me. Ethan, ever the doctor, grabbed my wrist, checking my pulse. "She's tachycardic," he barked, his calm cracking. I managed to rasp. "Poison, test it." Sarah, his wife, snatched the cup and ran to the kitchen, where she kept a basic medical kit. Minutes later, her face pale, she confirmed it. Traces of cyanide. The room erupted in gasps, but no one met my eyes. Richard called the police, his voice shaking. "Probably a mistake," he said, as if poison just happened. I leaned against the wall, my body weak but my resolve iron. Someone in this house, or someone watching it, wanted me gone, and I was done playing their game. Christmas morning dawned gray and cold, the Seattle sky pressing down like a warning. The gift exchange was the family's sacred ritual, a stage for their hierarchy of worth. I sat on the window bench, a little apart, watching my father play Santa in his ridiculous hat. Ethan's kids tore into their presents, a drone for Max, a tablet for Lily. Mia got a designer clutch from Helen, a sapphire necklace from Liam. Ethan and Sarah unwrapped a luxury ski trip, Richard beaming about networking opportunities. The pile dwindled, and my name was never called, not a card, not a trinket. Max, the 5-year-old, looked up, confused. "Didn't Aunt Lauren get anything?" The silence was deafening, every eye on me. Some embarrassed, some indifferent. Helen laughed too loud. "Oh, we thought you weren't coming. It's been 5 years, sweetheart. We'll grab something tomorrow." Richard nodded. "Stores open at 9, no big deal." Aunt Linda, ever the opportunist, rummaged in her purse. "Here, take this candle. Got it at a swap, but it's nice." A half-melted lavender thing, price tag dangling. I pushed it back, my voice steady. "No thanks, I'm good." The exclusion wasn't about gifts, it was about being erased. But instead of pain, I felt clarity, sharp and cold as the Seattle rain. I didn't need their trinkets to know my worth. I'd built Nexus Shield, secured the Pentagon, outsmarted hackers who'd make Jake's head spin. I was done begging for their scraps. But I wasn't done with them, not yet. I had a truth to lay bare. Not for their approval, but for me. I excused myself, grabbing my laptop from the gym room. The USB threat loomed, but so did my plan. I'd show them who I was, and if someone wanted to kill me for it, They'd have to try harder. Brunch was a spectacle of Helen's perfectionism. French toast casserole, bacon, mimosas, all laid out on her best china. The family chattered about Ethan's grants, Mia's wedding plans, Liam's startup. I sat quietly, a slim envelope in my lap, waiting for the moment. Richard raised his glass for a toast. To family and success. To Ethan's hospital wing, Mia's bright future, and another Carter year of excellence. The clink of glasses was my cue. I cleared my throat, standing, my voice cutting through the noise. Since we're celebrating achievements, I have one to share. I slid a Forbes magazine from the envelope, its cover screaming, Cybersecurity's Titan, Lauren Carter's Nexus Shield redefines defense. My photo stared back, fierce and unapologetic. Nexus Shield, the company I founded, is valued at $100 million 0 cents. We secure Pentagon systems, hospitals, banks. Oh, and we just got a $500 million 0 cents buyout offer. I'm leaning toward going global instead. The room froze. Forks midair, mouths open. Richard's glass slipped, splashing mimosa on the tablecloth. "That's impossible," he stammered. "Your little computer thing?" Helen's face twisted, then smoothed into a forced smile. "We always knew you had potential, dear. I told everyone you were gifted with tech." A lie. She'd pushed theater, not coding. Ethan grabbed the magazine, scanning it like it might be fake. $100 million 0 cents? You're serious? His voice held a mix of awe and envy, his hospital funding dwarfed. Mia, for once, looked genuinely curious. "Can I see that? That's really you?" She reached for the magazine, her usual smugness gone. Nora's eyes glistened with tears. "Your grandfather would be so proud, Lori. Not just for this, but for your heart." Before I could bask in Nora's words, my phone buzzed. A Nexus Shield alert. A ransomware attack had hit our servers, demanding $10 million 0 cents in crypto. My heart sank. This wasn't a coincidence. It was timed to this moment, this room. "I need to handle this," I said, opening my laptop right there at the table. The family watched, stunned, as my fingers flew across the keys, tracing the attack's origin. It was sophisticated, bouncing through servers in Moscow, Dubai, and Seattle. My blood chilled. Someone local was behind this. "Lauren, what's happening?" Mia asked, her voice small. "Someone's trying to take down my company," I said, not looking up. "And possibly me." I neutralized the attack in 17 minutes, rerouting the malware to a dead server. The family stared, their skepticism crumbling, but the victory was short-lived. As I closed my laptop, my phone rang. A Pentagon client, General Hayes. His voice clipped. "Carter, we've got a breach in our system. Your tech's failing us. Fix it or we're done." My stomach dropped. This was no coincidence. It was coordinated. Someone was hitting Nexus Shield from multiple angles, and I was trapped in this house, surrounded by suspects. I stepped outside for air, the rain cold on my face. That's when the 5th attack came. A crack split the air, and a sniper's bullet grazed my shoulder, shattering the porch window behind me. I dove behind a planter, my breath ragged. The shooter was gone by the time I looked up, but the message was clear. I was running out of time. Back inside, the family was in chaos, glass everywhere. Richard tried to downplay it. Probably Hunter's bad aim. But Ethan's face was pale, and Mia's hands shook as she clutched Liam. Nora pulled me aside, her voice low. "Lori, you're in danger. Leave now." I shook my head. Not yet. I need to finish this. But their reactions were shifting. Helen, for the first time, looked scared for me, not just embarrassed. We didn't realize how big your work was," she said, her voice halting. "Maybe we misjudged things." Richard nodded stiffly. "We should have listened more. Your tech stuff, it's real." It wasn't an apology, not really, but it was the closest they'd ever come. Mia approached later, her eyes soft. Sorry, Lauren. I didn't see how much we hurt you. I want to know you, the real you. Her words cracked something in me, a flicker of hope I hadn't felt in years. I decided to leave early, citing the client crisis with the Pentagon. It was partly true, but I also needed space to breathe, to think. As I packed, Nora found me in the gym room. "You did good, Lori," she said, hugging me tight. "Not just with your company, but with your truth. That takes guts." I smiled, tears stinging. "I'm inviting you and Mia to Seattle next Christmas. New traditions, no hierarchy." Nora nodded, her eyes bright. "I'll be there, sweetheart, and so will your grandfather's spirit." Mia joined us, tentative but genuine. "I'd like that, Lauren. A real sister thing." For the first time, I saw a bridge forming, fragile but real. As I drove to the airport, the rain easing, I felt lighter. The attacks weren't over. I'd need to trace the USB, the ransomware, the sniper. Was it a rival firm, a hacker I'd crossed, or someone closer, like Liam, whose tech connections were suspiciously deep? The questions gnawed, but so did a new truth. I'd stood in my power, not for their applause, but for me. I'd survived their neglect and someone's bullets, and I was still here, unshaken. My empire wasn't just Nexus Shield. It was the woman I'd become, the one who didn't need their mirrors to see her worth. Seattle's skyline faded behind me, but ahead lay a future I'd built, one where I chose my family, my truth, and my fight.